don't know what FGM is, in simple terms, Oluwakemi, please educate us on what FGM is. You can speak Yoruba, you can speak Pidgin, so that we can actually home for people who are listening and they can really understand what FGM really is.
Thank you, my host. FGM is simply defined as any procedure or anything that is done on external female genitalia that involve either removal of small portion or the total removal of the external genitalia. Or you do not even cut, but you inflict injuries on the external female genitalia, which has no medical reason at all. That is it. If I must say in Yoruba, nǹkan tá à ń pè ní ìdábẹ́ ọmọbìnrin ó jẹ́ ìgbésẹ̀ ilé tí a bá gbé ilé tó yẹ pé a mú kékeré abú kékeré àbí àti agé nǹkan tó pọ̀ kúrò lójú ara ọmọbìnrin tàbí àti gé àfábẹ́ kan rárá a wá fi àwọn egbò àbí a ṣe ìjàmbá fún àwọn ohun àbí tó wà lójú ara ọmọbìnrin láì ṣe pé ó ní nǹkan kan.
Understood that. My Yoruba is not 100%, but it's somewhere around that area. So I do have to say this because you mentioned something very significant. You said it might not even be the cutting. So you don't even have to cut.
You don't have to cut before you mutilate a girl.
And the reason I'm asking about this is because the popular knowledge is that you have to cut, is that there has to be a cutting. But now you're saying it doesn't even have to be cut. So you just inflicting pain alone is already considered as female genital mutilation. Do you think people know about this?
Not inflicting pain. You have said this earlier on.
Yes.
That's not everybody know much about female genital around FGM. So by saying that you don't need to cut
just
before you mutilate, you can deaden the cells on the external female genitalium. If you deaden the cell, the part you have deadened cannot perform its natural function. If you remove that particular part, the same thing happens. And that's why the definition all encompass. Either you remove or you deaden. So if I have to say that in Yoruba, kò dìgbà tá bá gé nǹkan kúrò lójú ara ọmọbìnrin ká tó sọ pé adábẹ́ fún. Ìdí ni pé gbogbo nǹkan tí Ọlọ́run dá sára wa láti rìn orí dé ìkànnì ẹsẹ̀ ó ní iṣẹ́ tí Ọlọ́run sọ pé kán ṣe. So nǹkan tó wà lójú ara ọmọbìnrin Ọlọ́run gbéṣẹ́ fún wọn. Tá bá gé kúrò ńbẹ̀ kò lè ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn mọ́. Ṣùgbọ́n tá bá gé kúrò ńbẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n tí a ṣe nǹkan kan sí tí a fi pa á kàn máa wò bí photo ni kò lè ṣiṣẹ́ tí Ọlọ́run sọ pé kó ṣe. So nǹkan kan náà ló já sí.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
So there's some traditional reasons that people do this. Now I'll give you an instance. We have a program here on Women Radio called Nauma Matter. I think it speaks for itself. Nauma Matter, anything concerning women, they talk that matter on top Nauma Matter. So Nauma Matter last week had conversation about female genital mutilation.
Okay.
And for almost everybody who called into the program, it was evident that they were still insisting on, I'm on a tradition with this, so now waiting to do with this. This is what we know. And we're not about to stop now because you are telling us that now this is wrong. So when people have been conditioned, let me put it that way, when people have been conditioned, have been taught to follow this line of tradition, how do you now end that mindset? And before you answer that, let me ask, what are some popular traditional reasons of the first place? What are some of the popular traditional reasons that you've heard that are responsible for female genital mutilation?
Thank you, my host. Like I said, so many people do not know much about FGM, but they only know the myths and misconceptions. If you are talking about reasons why people mutilate their women, it varies from one location to the other, from one country to the other, from one tribe to the other.
That's true.
But the general reason, or the commonest reason, is she grows up to be promiscuous. Some have religious reason for doing that, thinking that if a woman is not mutilated, all the prayers or the supplications will not be accepted by God. There are some people that do believe that, is a cultural thing, just like you said. We met it being done, and we must continue without asking questions. Without asking questions. If I should ask my host, maybe you can go and Google, or anybody can call at home. Who started mutilation? Female genital mutilation.
I don't even think you hear the answer.
Where was it first performed? And the reason. We have reasons all around. There have been several studies across the countries where they mutilate and they give different reasons. And that's why they try to classify female genital mutilation into 4, based on the definition, the reason, and the parts that is being removed. So all these reasons that they are giving, we find them to just be either myths, misconception, or fear instilled in women to surrender themselves or suggest their children to the practice. They are not far-fetched. We have asked questions on several occasions on the field. Fine, it's a cultural thing. You met it. Our grandmothers, our grandparents, they've been doing it, and we must continue. Have you ever asked your parents what are the benefits you have derived from? If you ask, nobody, not even a single person,
would be able to say why.
To say why, or to tell us a single benefit. Whereas we have so many risks, we have so many dangers and health effects associated with it.
I like that you mentioned this particular point, because without knowing the why, you ask yourself, why are we still doing this? Why are we still doing this when we don't even know why we are doing it? And I'm really glad that we're having this conversation today, because this helps everybody out there listening understand that if you've never heard of something before, or if you've heard it every single day of your life, it doesn't mean that you should not question the why. Because that why now is what will now educate you better on, is this beneficial? Is this not beneficial? Why am I even doing this? So thank you again for that, Oluwakemi. Then you mentioned the types or the classes of FGM because of misconceptions from previous times, even conversations that we've had with people on the field. It has helped classify what FGM is, or classify the types of FGM. So please, let's hear more about that.
Yeah. The practice of female genital mutilation is classified into 4 forms. And these forms depends on the parts involved.
Okay.
Either been deadened or cut off. We have 4 types, and they are named type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4.
Right.
For easy understanding. So type 1 is otherwise known as clitoridectomy. Clitoris reflects in that name.
Yes.
So, and this is simply a form of FGM where we have the clitoris being tampered with. Either you remove small portion or you completely remove the clitoris. That is type 1. Clitoridectomy.
Okay.
Type 2 is excision. 2 is where we have the clitoris and the labia minora. For the layman, the labia minora is that smaller lip. Apart from the clitoris on the external genitalia of a woman, we have 2 lips.
Yes.
2 folds.
Yes.
One is smaller, the other one is
on the larger side.
And the smaller one does not even have a hair growing on them. So if that's like me, smaller one, labia majora is tampered with the clitoris, that person has performed type 2 female genital mutilation.
And that's the excision now.
Excision.
Okay, so you mentioned clitoridectomy because I want to follow now. To really talk about get skinny right and say, oh man, they're getting paid. What time she say? Oh my God, so Clitoridectomy and excision. Clitoridectomy is basically cutting or removal or complete removal of the clitoris. And then the second one, excision, is cutting or complete removal as well of the clitoris and the labia minora. And that's the smaller part in the vagina.
Food.
Okay.
So the top type is otherwise known as infibulation.
Okay.
This infibulation is narrowing the vagina opening. And to do this, they will remove the clitoris, labia minora, and labia majora. They will now try to, have a tiny seal on the vagina opening.
Okay.
Leaving just a tiny opening, like pinhead, for that girl or woman to menstruate or to urinate.
Okay. Or to urinate.
Yeah.
Infibulation. So, cutting, removal of the clitoris, labia minora, and labia majora. Leaving a small...
Yes. They have to sew.
To reduce the size of the opening.
To narrow the opening.
Leaving that small area just for urination and menstruation. Okay. Clitoridectomy, excision, infibulation. What's the final one?
And the fourth one is called unclassified. From that time. Once you cannot classify what part mutilation under, then you have type 4. Various practices under that. The injury that I mentioned occurs. Some do ironing, not our present iron for our clothes, but they iron with their thumb. They iron the clitoris. They press it, massage it forcefully. And by doing that, they are deadening the cells in the clitoris.
You talked about deadening cells before.
So you will agree with me that the cells on the clitoris is a special cell, very sensitive.
Definitely.
And fragile compared to what we have on our skin. So any little attempt to press it too much and iron it, it will deaden the cells. A very good example I used to give on the field is if you rub your thumb against your skin, exposed one, within a little time, you feel hot and the place will become reddened. The redness shows that you are damaging the inner cells. The same thing occurs on the clitoris. And some people do apply several chemicals to their, vulva in order to shrink the vagina opening. They use caustic items. With what we gather on the field, they make use of alum, they make use of potash, they make use of, glue. Some even apply some medicated creams to tighten their vaginal orifices. In doing this, they are reducing the elasticity in that area. And some apply all these, chemicals, such that their vaginal orifice are now become so narrow that it cannot even allow a 5-year-old penis to penetrate. And such people always resolve in undergoing surgery for vaginal reconstruction. That's another type. Another one is stretching of the part of external genitalia, like the labia minora or labia majora. Like in Yoruba, we say ekwelegba, ekweleko ni egbelegba. That is, a man's food is another man's poison. When some tribe or people are thinking that the external female genitalia are too bogus and they want to reduce it, some do appreciate, that bogus type.
Yes.
So they will now be pulling. They'll be pulling it, and continuous pulling can now have a kind of a stretching effect, making it bigger than the natural state. Another one is piercing. Some girls, they are so social, they are so touched that after the initial, the natural piercing of hair, they can pierce their hair up to the top. They pierce their nose, they pierce their lips, the tongue, even nipple. So some people even pierce their private parts, the clitoris.
Okay. Is that another form of?
It's another form of unclassified.
Unclassified.
Yeah.
Okay. But does that deaden the cells of the
It does.
Okay.
You have done what? You have created a kind of injury on that place because you pierce it, and once it heals, it forms a scar.
Definitely.
And the scar that it has caused will reduce the functionality of that particular part of human body.
Oluwakemi, I must say that this is not common knowledge. This is not something that people know, because half the time, as I said earlier, we only hear about cutting. I think this is more what most people. There's still not as much generally. People still just don't understand, because people call it a program that's addressing the unhealthy nature and the eradication of female genital mutilation, and say that in as much as you educated folks are saying that, oh, this is wrong, this is what we know, and this is what we'll like, people literally said, when I have daughters, I don't have now, but when I do, I will make sure that they undergo this, because this is tradition, this is what we know. So this is why you talking about female genital mutilation, the types of female genital mutilation, and even how this happens in different areas of the world is extremely beneficial. So yes, I must say thank you again for joining us today. It is 22 minutes past the hour of 2 on your radio, WFM 91.7, Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families. You're welcome to Let's Talk FGM, meeting you on what female genital mutilation is, and public health specialist. Again, with genital mutilation. I am Somto Titilayo Ajaman. Once again, we're still tuned to Let's Talk FGM on Women Radio WFM 91.7. You can contribute by calling the number 07000 917 917, or you can send your text or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. Let's Talk FGM is an initiative of HACEY Health Initiative in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by the United States Women. Now, going back into conversation, you've talked about the general definition of female genital mutilation. You've also talked about the types of female genital mutilation. And to a large extent, people just don't know enough about it. Now, I want to draw your attention to the health of women and girls and how female genital mutilation is directly linked to that. So what is the link between female genital mutilation and the health of females generally? Does this have a negative effect on their health? What are some of the health effects of female genital mutilation that people really need to know?
Thank you very much. Before I go to that, I want to try and delink the reasons why people mutilate their girls from the reality.
Okay.
Just like you have said, that people see it as a cultural thing. Yes, FGM is culturally entrenched, and we have been doing it for. But studies have shown that it does not have any health benefits. Rather, it has so many, negative consequences, health-wise and even social-wise. But when we consider our culture is made by we people, and we people are not made for what? For culture. People will sit down and say, okay, this is how we want to be doing things, and it should become
a tradition. Yes.
Yeah. But let us ask ourselves, do we still practice all the cultural things we met as we grow up? A very good example, in the olden days, if you want to communicate, you don't make use of phones to communicate. We make use of our local, we go through our local ways. But now everybody
has a phone.
Yeah, do communicate through their phones. Which means studies have, made us realize that there are better ways of communication.
That's true.
Even the way we build our houses, our mode of dressing, etc. That's a very good example. So if you are talking about cultural, it doesn't mean we cannot change our culture.
Yes.
In the olden days, twins are being killed because we felt that, they are evil, they are not children. But now we have stopped it. And twins are set of, children that almost every household
wants to have. Exactly.
So that is one. And in terms of religion, we have worked with all the three main religions we have: Christianity, Islam, and traditional worshippers.
Yes.
And they made us realize that, look, it is not an obligation in all this religion. It's even well stated in the Bible that circumcise your male child, not female child. The same thing in the traditional worshippers book. In Islam, where we have it, it is not in the Quran, but in the less hadith, according to the scholars.
Okay.
And it is not a compulsory practice. You either do it or you don't do it. Doing it will not fetch you
any benefits.
And
or reward. And then not doing it won't take away anything from you.
No punishment.
Okay.
But considering the effects, the negative effects, so they have agreed that, okay, it's better not even done at all. So what are we not saying? And all the fears they instill in women, they are just to do what? To subject themselves. Let me now move to the effects.
Yes.
I always want to go in a chronological
order, and that helps.
So that
it really helps.
Assist people in understanding and to remember how it affects girls and women health. If a woman or a girl is to be mutilated, they don't usually tell them that, Anike, tomorrow we are going to go and mutilate you. Why? It's because they know that the fear we grip that individual.
Yes.
And when we are talking about fear, not everybody, if anything happens and fear grips some people can faint. And that's why they don't tell them. Fear alone has some health effects, negative, because health is defined as complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Complete. And that is why nobody can attain optimum health at any point in time. So once we inform that person and fear grips, it's the system of that individual, off. If that person is to be mutilated, definitely you are inflicting pain because you are removing something. You want to cut. Let us imagine using pain, tiny pain, to prick yourself. Just imagine the kind of pain that individual will go through if they are to remove part of the external female genitalia. So the pain we are talking about, so not everybody can withstand severe pain. Some people can go into, fainting attack, etc. Another thing is, in order not for that individual to restrict the cutting, we have about 4 FT beam that will hold the legs and the hands. So if such individual, whether adults or especially children, try to restrict, the bone can break because they are not well formed.
Matured.
Yeah, matured. Then the joints can also, you can have injury to the joints. That's another effect. So if that person resists it, the perpetrator, don't let me use perpetrator now. The person that wants to do on to the clitoris, between you and me, that person cannot, the extent at which he or she is pinching the clitoris, the person will just be imagining, okay, I'm holding on to because I want to. So if there is a kind of forceful restriction, there may be a mistake of cutting
the minor, the major.
Yeah. And in this, if this happens, if the urethra is affected, it can lead to what we call vesicovaginal fistula, whereby that person will just be, urinating without control. We call it minutes. If it affects the rectum, the person will just be passing stool without any control. Now, let us assume that, okay, the portion you want to cut, we are able to cut it. You have already inflicted wound, and there will be bleeding. So if the bleeding is not well controlled, most especially, not every one of us has the clothing, enough clothing factor in our system. That individual can bleed to death. Or some may even end up in the hospital and be transfused with another person's blood. The wound has to heal. And remember, the external female genitalia is in a hidden place. You cannot even view it. You cannot say, oh, this is how it is healing or whatever. If the wound heals wrongly and the flesh does not heal in good apposition,
yes,
it may create problem for that individual in future, either to urinate or to menstruate,
which might require surgery.
Which might require another surgery, opening it up. And another thing is infection. Microorganisms grows well where we have blood medium. Then that wound can also attract microorganisms.
Okay.
If it is not well taken care of, infection can set in.
All right, let me pause you there for 1 second, Oluwakemi. We have a call. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Coming from Apollo.
Hello, Tara. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you see this conversation you guys are having right now. It makes someone very scary in as much as you start imagining things, because I can't imagine myself letting one person touch my daughter simply for one reason I don't know. Because from what your guest is saying right now, it's a whole lot of this. And if I may really know what is the reason for this, personally I can't tell there's one actual reason that will make a parent or make a guardian to subject a child to such mutilation. What is the benefit in the future? Why let the child go through such pain? Still, like you said, in the program, people were still asking and talking about the need for them to face the tradition. For Christ's sake, I don't see where this tradition is taking anybody to. I'm just really upset with what I'm hearing, and I want to feel and believe that with your program, a lot of people will be informed about to stop this edge here, because it's inhuman. Thank you very much for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for calling. All right. So far, she's saying that she can't imagine this happening to her daughter because of the fear that everything you've said has had on her. And she's also saying, what exactly is the reason for this, which you've spoken about already? You said the commonest reason is to prevent promiscuity in young girls when they grow up into women. And, she's saying that what are the benefits, if there are any? Now, we're getting to that. Again, emphasis on if there are any. We have one more call. Good afternoon. Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, please call back if you can. Please call back if you can. All right. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling. What's your name, please, and where are you calling from?
This is Amaka from Apapa.
Hello, Amaka. Thank you for calling.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, about what we are discussing.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing has been affecting me now because I was circumcised.
Okay.
Well, actually, I'm married. But after sometimes I used to be like 2-3 months, I will not have urge.
Hmm.
As in, I cannot feel that I'm with a man. So I was like, let me go out there and, consult people like elderly people like elderly women. So I talked to them about it. They said it's because of that circumcision.
Hmm.
And even before I got married, I used to have urge. I feel like, as in,
Mm-hmm.
others said, I don't have urge. So when they told me that it's because of the circumcision, I was like, now it's even like it's still affecting me.
Hmm. All right.
So
Thank you,
I
Amaka.
just said, okay, ma.
No, please go on. You said, do you have a question?
So I was like, why is this all these things coming up like traditional something, but it's affecting people in future.
Yes.
It's affecting people. I cannot imagine that someone will be with me for like a month, don't have old.
Hmm.
Sometimes, like it is forcing me to, we used to force each other, something like that. That I don't like something like that, but I don't know. It's something that is because of that thing that is affecting me.
Hmm. All right, Amaka.
When I come, okay, ma.
Thank you very much for calling.
Yeah.
All right, ma.
So
sorry, Amaka.
yes.
You have experiencing about 3 different effects of FGM.
Which is where you were going.
Yeah, loss of libido, which is key. Once the clitoris is removed, because that is the most sensitive part
In a woman's vaginal area.
yeah. So once it is removed, that person tends to lose interest, not having urge for sexual intercourse.
Hmm.
Another one is a kind of psychological imbalance. She keeps on thinking, why is this one happening to me? Why all this rubbish tradition, this and this? And if care is not taken, the relationship may break.
Hmm. Because
she
just said 2 months, she can go 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
And so why anywhere? And
at
she's
times she may
married.
feel, why am I into marriage? The husband will also keep on complaining. And if care is not taken, the husband can go out and
exactly.
Yeah. But my advice to you, Amaka, is to approach a specialist, go to the hospital, explain, but you need cooperation of your husband. You cannot do it alone. So they have to counsel you, and the counseling may not be a one-off thing. Okay. They have to have several sessions to assist them so that they break ahead
couples counseling with the specialist. Counseling, teach them what to do next.
What to do.
Or just give them advice.
They will give advice. They will tell them what to do to make her have, to start having urge.
Okay.
It may not be that, it may not be like if she was not mutilated.
Okay.
But at least they will be able to manage their relationship.
And her husband would even understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so that exists then. For women who have been circumcised previously and are going through something like what Amaka is experiencing.
They just have to go and see a gynecologist to,
give them more information and educate them on what to do next. So this is gynecologist generally.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Are there more health effects?
Yeah, we have more effects. Anybody that's mutilated tends to have difficult delivery. The reason is far-fetched.
Because
God has made us, complete. That when it is time for a woman to deliver, the vaginal orifice will do what? We expand. to even allow a whole baby to come out, and after that it will recall. But inflicting injury or making a scar on it will reduce the extent at which the vaginal orifice will be able to expand. It's expanding and it gets to where the scar of that mutilation is, the vagina will recall. So that one may elongate the number of hours
of labor.
And as the number of hours is being elongated, the woman in labor will be in distress. The baby trying to come out will be in distress. If they are not opportune to be where skilled birth attendants to assist them.
So this can actually result, in the death of both mother and baby, or mother or baby.
And there may be tear if the baby forcefully, comes out. The uterus can tear, and if that one happens and they don't fix it very well, that may be the last child the woman
will be able to have. There really are a lot of health effects to this, a lot of negative,
so many
health
effects. So painful sexual intercourse, because the scar is already there, the vagina cannot, expand, and the lubrication will also be reduced. So the individual will be having painful sexual intercourse. And there is what we call orgasm, which is the climax of sexual
intercourse,
satisfaction or enjoyment.
Yes.
That person may not even experience it.
Because of the pain.
Because of the scar, the removal, what has been removed.
And the pain as well.
And the pain as well. So if we are able to stop female genital mutilation, there are so many inherent benefits there.
Absolutely.
One, we'll be able to promote gender equity and equality. Because we don't tamper with male external genitalia and reproductive system. So they enjoy their reproductive system more than we do.
But there's male circumcision as well.
Yes, there's male circumcision. Some people even do mistake male circumcision with female genital mutilation.
I've actually heard that. Because I talked about female genital mutilation to someone, and she's like, "But why is nobody complaining? Why are men not complaining about it?"
Can I shock you?
Please.
If we are to mutilate men, which means we have to remove the gland penis.
Because that is what
equates
to for the man.
The prepuce that has been removed when we are circumcising the male child is just a kind of flesh that is covering the gland penis.
Doesn't actually tamper with the organ itself.
And you could see that God has ordained it, well written. Circumcise your male child. It is when you circumcise a male that will make the organ, the penis, to function optimally, which is unlike
what it does to the woman.
Then there is a delineation God has put on the male
genitalia.
The penis, where you can cut. You cannot cut below that when you are removing the prepuce, because there is nothing like that.
If you do that, it will hurt the penis itself.
And it is when you do it that you beautify even the penis, which is unlike that's
for the woman.
Yeah, for the woman.
Okay, so let me ask you something. I didn't care. I mean, Oluwakemi. There's this thing that people say that, if the child or young woman or young girl is mutilated by a medical practitioner, somebody that has medical experience, they term that as a safe method to do it. And some people even think that that's more preferable than maybe traditional random women doing it. Do you think this has any impact on the effect of female genital mutilation, whether it's done by a specialist, whether it's done by whatever fancy name you want to call the practitioner? Doesn't it still mean mutilating the girl child?
Whoever mutilates or cut off external female genitalia does not make it right, and it does not make it devoid of health effects as well as social effects. What we are talking about is what we refer to as medicalization. And medicalization was brought for when they initially introduced this definition of female genital mutilation.
Okay.
You know, it was known to be performed by traditional circumcisers,
Yes.
CBAs, done in an unhygienic environment without pain reliever or whatever. So when all these reasons were given to them, they said, okay, if that's the reason, let's go and be doing this in the hospital. Where they will be able to give us a pain reliever. They will use sterile instruments where they can also manage the infection. But that does not make it worse, right? Just like I said, once that part is removed, it cannot perform the function.
And once it can perform the function, then the harm has
already been done. Yoruba will say, okay, that is nobody assists lambs and goats to deliver their children, and they don't undergo any stress like we human beings, but we don't mutilate all these animals. So we don't mutilate human beings. So we subject them to what? To stress, to pain, even risking their life. And like I was saying, if you're able to stop female genital mutilation, we are going to save some women from dying during childbirth. We are going to reduce the staying hour in the hospital after delivery. If you're able to reduce it or to eliminate female genital mutilation, we are going to reduce the number of, infants, neonates, children that dies, because female genital mutilation contributes into neonatal morbidity and mortality.
Absolutely.
And even the infection we are talking about, if the instrument is not sterilized and same instrument is used for several people, that person tends to transmit infection from one person to the other. So once you're able to stop female genital mutilation, we are still going to reduce the rate at which people contract infections such as HIV, hepatitis B, and the likes.
All right. This is 12 minutes to 3. 12 minutes to 3 on your Women Radio, WFM 91.7. And this is Let's Talk FGM. Let's Talk FGM. We're talking about Spotlight on Female Genital Mutilation. Spotlight on Female Genital Mutilation. Let's Talk FGM Radio 91.7 and funded by the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women. Genital mutilation is a practice that is very common. And the focus of this conversation is educating you on what it is and the do's and don'ts. As a matter of fact, elimination completely of female genital mutilation. So I have with me my guest, Olawoyin Bilikisu Oluwakemi, midwife and public health specialist. I am Somto Titilayo at JAMA, and we're giving you all the information that you need, awareness on female genital mutilation. You can call to contribute or ask questions on 0703 07000 917 917 07000 917 917. You can also send your text or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537. Now, as we round off, there's one part of this conversation that I think we need to talk about, just so that we can cover. I know that there's that we need to discuss, but because of time, I just want to ask this, because this is where it's popularized. A lot of this happens in rural societies, in the grassroots. And the I don't know what the reason is, but I believe that to a large extent it has to do with this perspective of things. And then you also talked about culture, religion. There are a lot of different reasons. But would you agree that it's largely done in the rural communities, rural areas?
Well, partly I can agree with that. But I must let you know that FGM is also performed in the cities. And that is a great challenge we have. You cannot know because it's done secretly. As we are in the four corner of this room now, if a girl is being mutilated in the next room, all what you can hear is the cry.
Yes, which will seem regular.
Regular. And if you are home, the mom can just tell you, oh, sorry, he's hungry and I'm preparing our food. Whereas something nasty
is already happening.
It's already happening.
I think this would most likely refer to medicalization, as you said.
Not only medicalization, even the ones performed by traditional circumcisers. They now the imports or exports
these people
now, they can invite traditional circumcisers from rural area to the city to come and perform. And vice versa.
True.
Parents can also take their children from the city to the rural area
to get it done.
To get it done. So it's not only in the rural area
that it happens.
So we shouldn't close our eyes to the city and say, oh, performed. You have to be vigilant.
That's true.
And prevention is always better than cure.
Like
we used to say.
That's very true. But how can we sensitize more people to the ills of female genital mutilation?
The only way we can sensitize people is to let them know that all the myths and misconceptions are not what. They are just to make women subjected. Like I said, if we say a girl that is not mutilated will become promiscuous, let us ask ourselves, all our grandmothers and great-grandmothers and our mothers that were all mutilated, don't we see some of them that still mess around? That's the question we need to ask. So if mutilation is the solution for not being promiscuous, why do we still have some people, some of them, one man to the other? Let's ask ourselves that.
Very, very, very interesting question, actually. Very interesting question.
Then another fear they instill in women is if a girl is not mutilated, by the time she starts having children later in life, the head of the newborn must not touch the clitoris, unmutilated clitoris. That if it does, the baby will die.
And that's another false.
Yes, if that is the case, Ijebus don't mutilate their girls. They don't mutilate their girls at all. So if that's, is a reason, which means you're supposed to have, neonates.
Popular
death of neonates in Ijebus. Or even the issue of being promiscuous. If that is a factual thing, all Ijebus women will be promiscuous. Whereas this being promiscuous, it's cut across all tribes. We have ladies, girls that, kind of move from one man, jumped from one man to the other. It's cut across all tribes and everywhere you look. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is a message. This one is coming in. The person didn't say their name, but this one says, if someone did not do this FGM, hope it will not affect the person when giving birth to a child. And I heard that when giving birth, if the head of a child touches the clitoris, not death. So as you've said, this is what has been taught to people in order to promote female genital mutilation. And you're clearly saying that this is just wrong. This is not true.
It is not
at all.
It is not true.
So I hope that answers your question, please. I hope that you sent that message. You didn't write your name or your location, but I hope that answers your question. Oluwakemi, I have to say thank you so much for joining us today on Let's Talk FGM. I'm sure that there's still a lot to talk about. We cannot exhaust all the parts of this discussion. So I look forward to hearing more about this in other episodes. But for today, our time is fast spent. So I must say thank you again for joining us. This has been a very eye-opening conversation, and I think that applies to everybody else out there listening. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And thank you, our listeners at home.
Thank you again. All right. Female genital mutilation is what we talked about today. Spotlight on female genital mutilation. Yes, this is female. Let's Talk FGM is an initiative of HACEY Health Initiative in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women. Join us Wednesdays 2 p.m. on Women Radio WFM 91.7 as we talk FGM and condemn the practice. Together, let's join hands to stop female genital mutilation today. If you want to report cases of female genital mutilation, please call 0812 467 0069. 0812 467 0069. You can also get more information on stopcut.hacey.org. stopcut.hacey.org. I want to say thank you again to my guest and to the producer, Esther Alaribe. Also to my engineers on duty, Michael A.K. Paul and Timileni Ajuma. My name is Somto Titilayo Ajama. Once again, good afternoon.
Genital mutilation is a harmful practice that affects women and girls. Let's Talk FGM every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Together, we must fight against FGM and end this harmful practice in Nigeria. Let's Talk FGM Wednesdays 2 p.m. on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Let's Talk FGM is the HACEY Health Initiative.
Put on your church suit because we're about to blast off.
We are trying to say